I've been making websites since 1999. I was 11 years old, and somewhere along the way, I learned about WordPress, and I pretty much stayed there for something like 15 years. And recently, with the dawn of AI, I started exploring new ways to build websites and finally found a stack that makes me feel comfortable that I can iterate my ideas and execute fast to see how they hit. If you happen to be a serial builder or you just are sick of WordPress getting frustrated or realizing its limitations when you see what's possible with AI agents with the right infrastructure for your website, watch this video, you'll hear a bit of my story and where I ended up and what I'm doing now. Enjoy. I started making websites in 1999. This was my first website, Jordan's Pokemon page on Max Pages. And I got really into these top sites thing. If anyone was around back then, there were different categories and you'd vote on them and there'd be updates. But essentially they were big directories. So if you look at this, like I've got Game Shark codes for like Game Boy Pokemon games, if anyone remembers those, Pokemon movies, all this. This was my start. A couple years later, I made a little website for people to learn HTML and Perl, which was like pre-PHP, basically. I was literally 12 years old making this, and I knew nothing. And I called it Techno Webmasters, and it was a lot of fun. Once again, we had top sites. This was what it was all about. And they kind of act like directories back in those days. Then I learned about Qt News, which was built on PHP. And around 2005, 2006, I set this up for the first time. And this was like the same time. It's funny because this is still around. This was like the same time WordPress was coming out. And so this was just like a really easy way to, it was like one of the first CMS that worked. And I was really excited about it. But then eventually I did find WordPress and I moved over there. And I stayed on WordPress for probably like a long time. 2019, 2020, I learned about Jekyll and Hugo, which is basically static site generators where you just put markdown files in a Git repo and it creates a beautiful website for you based off like the template you choose. Just choose a theme and then you put this information on GitHub and it automatically deploys it as a site for you. And so when I first learned about this, I was like, whoa, so I don't have to do everything with WordPress because it was faster. All you got to do is put the information in a markdown file, format it by markdown, which is really easy to do a H1, H2, H3. It's super simple. It's not like HTML and it's fast. And then it deploys it for you fast. So I kind of like started to like see the future here. But at the same time, I was busy building a directory with a developer I hired, a PHP developer. This is all I have left of it. It was called perceptions.live. And these were all videos I made around the world where you could organize through them and you could see people and connect with them or donate in different parts of the world. And then you could sign in, you could try to connect with people. And I was working on that for a long time as a nonprofit. It didn't do very well. And then a little after that, I started building a DAO in the Web3 space. And this originally started as a PHP project, which is what WordPress runs on. And soon I realized that PHP just can't do some of the cool stuff that I want to do on this internet with these technologies coming around. And that's essentially what led me to Netlify, which is like a super cheap and accessible way to host modern web apps where we're leaving the WordPress paradigm entirely. And it eventually led to this video that Frey mentioned of me going viral, how I built a 7,000 listing directory website using only AI tools. That is the Montessori Find directory. And it was a fun build. I basically did it to learn. So I heard Frey on the Eisenberg podcast, like I'm sure many of us did. And that was at a time for me when I was looking for a project to do because I was seeing all these like Cursor, Bolt, Lovable. I was seeing all these apps out there. I'm like, wow, I need something to build. I've been doing this a long time, but I didn't have anything to build with the AI. Like I need to try to use AI for something. This is where the Montessori Find came from. It's kind of slopped together. The data, we'll talk about it. And then that turned into a new directory I just have been working on called vibebuilders.ai. And this is more, instead of like geo-local directory like Montessori Find, this is data from all over the internet, from Reddit, YouTube, GitHub, Google search results. I was trying to figure out, okay, how can I scrape multiple sources and then present it in such a way where it's just more interactive? So this resource doesn't work. I'm still working out the kinks. But basically, all these resources generate a score. So I have AI connected to it as we're scraping the data and says, based on the comments, the reviews, the ratings, generate a vibe score. Like, what do the people think of this article? And then the LLM will generate a sentiment score based on the objectivity of the content. Like, is it neutral? Is it someone with a strong opinion? Or is it just like a how-to? So I've been trying to explore like different ways to bring data together, to visualize it, to put it in an interface, in a directory where people can have fun with it. And someone in this community, I think it was Grant, maybe someone else, but he introduced me to playbooks.com, which is a directory of MCP servers for AIs. And very similar vision. I can show it to you real quick. This is a directory that literally pulls things from GitHub like in real time. So it has a database of all this data, but it's going to update automatically. And so that's the next version of Vibe Builders. Is we have a Discord, and we all talk about building things with AI. We're all non-coders. So there's going to be an AI agent in there that then spits out the resources we talk about and things into the vibebuilders.ai directory. And all that would not be possible on WordPress. So all that to say, the method I'm working on is called conversation-driven coding. People call it vibe coding, but there's a lot of stickiness involved because you have to be a coder in many ways, or people believe you have to be a developer and know how to do all this stuff to build things online. And it's not true, because the AI knows how to do that. We just have to learn as non-coders how to be patient, how to learn the right processes, the right steps, and to prompt things one at a time. And so we're going to go through that a little bit that today.
What's the TLDR in terms of your AI framework? What are people going to take away by the end?
The TLDR here is you can build faster, you can future-proof your directories, especially if you want to upgrade them over time. So with Montessori Find, for example, in this version, it doesn't have it because I had to redo some of the way the website worked, long story. But you could log in and you could like submit a request to change a directory. Like, hey, this is my school here. I need to change it, or I want to submit a directory. So there'd be like a verification process. So then we can make our directories a little more autonomous, right? Where they don't require our input all the time to update them. So having user functionality like that, it's obviously possible in WordPress, but it's more work, it's more plugins, there's more complexities that might end up to be more money. They may not even work, or you have to hire a directory. What I suggest is build everything with AI using modern frameworks. We're going to use Node.js as a framework. Build it all with AI in this way, and you can future-proof it. So that's really the TLDR here, is not only will you build an epic directory that you can future-proof, but you're going to develop the skills that will transfer into anything else you ever want to build. If you learn how to conversation code, you will be able to build anything. And it's really crazy, and I don't think as many people realize how crazy it is as the actual like developers and coders that are using this. So that's why I'm here to introduce it to you today. Why do you want to build with AI? The first reason is freedom. You're going to have way more control over your projects. You're not going to be dependent on third-party developers or updates, besides maybe the cursor software we're going to use. You don't have to hire developers, and you future-proof yourself. Iteration. If you're someone like me, or I know Frey, and you have ideas all the time, and you're like, oh, I gotta execute that idea. You want to be able to do it fast, because maybe it's not a good idea, but you want to put it out there to see, let the market let you know. So if you have a workflow like this, you're going to be able to iterate your ideas faster, get them out there, and see what works in the marketplace. So it's great for serial builders. You could test the market demand with like micro directories before you scrape the full data, find like the top rankers, and see if people are clicking, see if people want it. Cost effectiveness. Okay, I'm not going to say that you'll save money using AI, because I was looking at Hostinger today and how cheap it is to host WordPress sites. You're not going to necessarily save money. But look at the bigger picture here. You're paying pennies on the dollar to hire a developer. So imagine your static directory will only rank for so long. The internet's going to change. Everything's going to change with AI. I know it's a big discussion right now, like, will directories survive the AI takeover, right? Even like the top of Google now is just AI summaries. I've been using Brave Search because everything I search for, the AI in the beginning just summarizes it all for me like really well, and then gives me some sources. So what's going on with directory SEO? I don't think anyone really knows. Everyone's got ideas, but regardless, you're going to want to add extra value all the time to keep remaining relevant. And data will only go so far. Data will only go so far with static-driven approaches like this. There's no real anything here, right? Like, there's a description. There's hours. This one doesn't even have the hours, right? Here, we're looking at, okay, how can we, where's a GitHub one? How can we start like this vibe score thing and sentiment score? We can have AI calculate scores based on the audience reaction to certain resources out there. By the way, you can also have AI generate images for you automatically, like I did on this website. And then you can start displaying other data. On YouTube, we see like comments, right? Everything going on. Like if you're on a directory, a good part of you deciding, hey, is this a good resource for me or not, is going to be based on what other people say on YouTube. Oh, it has a lot of views, it's got likes. So the way this vibe score is calculated was the sentiment of the content itself. How deep does it go technically? How well do people engage with it? The relevance. So this is all what I call transforming your data into like visual metrics. Like create visuals from your data, which is just going to be a lot easier with an AI coding copilot to do it for you on a framework that is made for it, which WordPress is not. WordPress is old, it works, it's great, but it's just not the framework to use modern tools. This is my premise of it. So imagine compressing 4 years of progress into 1 year. So you're not saving money on the hosting things so necessarily, but you're going to be able to say, you're not going to have to hire a developer, and you're going to be able to create all the features you want that would normally require a developer or paying $250 a year for a WordPress plugin. Like with WooCommerce, if you want subscriptions, how much is it per year, right? Like it's just kind of annoying, right? Because if you knew how to develop PHP, you could just go into the code and do it yourself. Whereas you can now with an AI copilot. Node.js makes scaling a lot easier and more cost effective than WordPress and PHP. You can integrate APIs way easier. There's options to implement AI way more simply. And like I mentioned, you can transfer these skills to multiple domains. And it's like positioning yourself learning WordPress in 2005. Like it's going to be a great skill for the next 10, 15, 20 years. With AI, who knows? Maybe it's just going to be for a few years. But right here in the here and now, like learning to conversationally code, to vibe code, is such an important skill to have. And you're going to see that it is within reach. You're going to save time, and it's going to be way more convenient. I'm going to show you right here how many things I've shipped in just 3 months. So I've shipped 2 versions of Montessori Find, 2 versions of Vibe Builders. I've created the terminal navigation toolkit with a 30-day challenge in here for people to start learning how to use the command line and make an actual app. I've made the AI Captain's website in super N64 retro style.
That's cool.
I don't know if you can hear the music.
No.
Got sound effects, and it's just fun, right? And sometimes on the internet these days, fun is sought after because it's not there. And then I've been building this AI Captain's Academy here, where it's going to be a place to just learn to do all this stuff. Right here is a lead magnet where you put in what you want to build, and then I have an AI in the background, an agent, create like a plan for you based on this input chart. You can't do that on WordPress. I mean, you can, but it's just a lot harder. I can do it in an afternoon, just prompting AI here. All right. So then here's our plan. We're going to jump into this. First, we're going to come up with a plan, and we're going to do that together. Then we're going to collect our data using Cursor. I'm going to show you a new way of doing this. Then we're going to build and deploy a very basic website because we're not here all day. Then we're going to deploy it. I'm going to show you how all that works in a simpler way. So as soon as you press save on your computer, it'll update on the internet. It's magic. And then I'll show you how you can bring it onto your computer to make updates. So that's the gist of it. If you want to learn more about how to actually build things with AI, not on WordPress, check out any video on my channel. I go into different ways of doing things, different projects. Check out the links in the descriptions of the videos. There's plenty of free stuff to help you get started. There's paid stuff too, if you're really liking the free stuff. And I'll see you around in future videos. I just want to leave you with one last thing. Don't be scared. Don't be intimidated. Things are easier than ever now with AI, and all you got to do is learn things. In less than 8 hours, you can learn so much that will change your life because of the things you'll be able to build from that 8 hours of learning. So I highly encourage you to be confident, don't be scared, and build.